I'm someone who, gone to therapy for trust issues because of like giving away roles. Like that's what really like brought it to light for me, brought it to surface, just how much I need to work on this and like get into like, why do I not trust people? Why do I like hold on to all these duties? Like I was creating content, doing everything on my own, and my business support inbox was filling up daily with like, fuck this, like this program is shit. Like I paid for this. You said you were going to get back to me. You didn't get back. Like it was bad, bro, for like 6 months.
I'm really thankful to know Brian Costa now for a few years. And every time I'm in LA, I'm always wanting to be able to get together with him. And I'm so happy to be sharing this episode with you because Brian, when it comes to the online health and fitness space, which is, if you didn't know, that's really what I've been so much of a part of. I was a personal trainer from 18. I started my online fitness business in 2014 when I was in Dubai. And then we built the Coaches Cartel, which was a company purely there to support online health and fitness professionals to be able to build their business as well, which has an amazing team being able to run that. But when it comes to Brian, what he's so amazing at is he walks the walk, but he's really clued in. He's extremely humble. And in this episode, we delve into what he struggled with when it comes to being able to build an online health and fitness business, what it really matters for him when it comes to being able to create the life that he wants to be able to create, and how he's been able to go through so many of the deep, dark secrets of the online health and fitness world. And especially as well, when you go and check out Brian, especially go check out his Instagram, which he shares amazing content on. The dude is in amazing, amazing shape. And I respect and admire so much his consistency for how he shows up as well. And then his ability to actually be able to communicate, articulate, and help other people go through that as well. So I think there's a lot when it comes to this episode for you to be able to take away with. And if you're joining us on the podcast right now, please make sure to go join us on the Chris Dufey YouTube so that you can watch this conversation unfold on camera. And also, please share this out on social if you've gotten value from it. And when you do, please tag myself and Brian, as I would love to know what you've been able to take away from this episode. But also, really importantly, I'd love to be able to personally say thank you for you joining us.
We've known each other for a few years. I absolutely love every time that I get to be with you. The few times that we train together, I'm always just like, God damn it, this guy's a beast. Like, I just love watching you do what you do. When it comes to someone that has, I love the work that you do. I love the content that is truly valuable that you put out as well. And I also love because I know the guy behind it. But when it comes to how do you navigate the social media world with this real world and how you feel on a day-to-day basis?
If I find the answer, I'll let you know. I think it's an ongoing, or at least what I've personally found is it's an ongoing self-assessment, how you're feeling each day. And if you're aligned, if you can look in the mirror at night and be proud of what you're doing while also maintaining some semblance of balance. I'm not a big fan of the word balance. I'm more a fan of just like finding harmony. I think there's seasons for going full force in a certain different way, but like I've experienced times where I'm like too focused on content and it's at the detriment of like some of my personal relationships. And man, it's like I don't know the answer, man. I think it's an intuitive thing, and it's probably different for everybody. But I know as a rule of thumb for me, if my social media time is any higher than like 60 minutes to 90 minutes per day, which like within that is baked like posting and getting back to people. So I have done fairly well in the last 5 years of doing this, 5-6 years of like reducing scrolling, but I'm still a freaking human. I still do it. But like if that scrolling gets too high, like I just start to feel out of whack. I think everyone's experienced that feeling of just like, I've been in the screen too much. I haven't talked to anyone today. The amount of days I've had go by where I haven't spoken to a human, at least in person, or like seen a person. And I'm like, I haven't said a word to a human today. Like, so I think it's been meditating and journaling and staying on top of those practices, because I start to crumble, man, if I don't have those.
Dude, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think it's a really big thing when people like I've shared your stuff to a lot of people and be like, Brian's setting a great standard here. And they'll be like, oh my God. And they go through and they're like, this is really good. And I'm like, yeah, it is really good. And knowing that people will look up to you in admiration, I think it's also important for people to understand like what happens behind the scenes so that they're not caught up trying to do the wrong thing. And I think there's like two threads I want to try and pull here, where it's one of like I took myself off Instagram, closed the podcast down, like basically took myself off social media for like 18 months.
That's amazing, man.
And it was amazing.
I'm kind of jealous. I'm not going to lie.
No, like it definitely was. And it's interesting to what lured me back. You know, the thing that lured me back, especially to Instagram, was I can connect with people such as yourself, to be able to actually maintain some sort of relationship where I'm like, hey, I'm in town, let's get together. Like that was the thing that I was like, oh, I'm really missing that. Like there is a positive side to it.
Dude, it's so amazing how it's like an abusive relationship in a way. It's like I can't have you, but I can't live without you. But like I get it, man. Like there are undeniable huge wins and assets to not just having a social media presence, but just having it, period. Like if you have 0 followers, like being able to connect.
Okay, so the other thread that I thought was really interesting, Brian, was we were talking about this before we actually hit record. It's like being able to create a business that gives us so much freedom. Yeah. But then we're the ones that are actually limiting what we're doing on a day-to-day basis. We're talking about like where do we live around the world. And
right.
You could share your story about deciding on leaving LA, moving somewhere else, and that being something that's actually you've been capable of doing for quite some time now.
Yeah.
But didn't for certain reasons. And for me, it was the same where I was like, all right, we want to move. We could literally throw a dart on a map and just be like, okay, let's go there. It doesn't matter. But we haven't been doing that because I've been telling myself a story about certain reasons why I can't.
Yeah.
How do you navigate your life, Brian, with the amazing freedom that you've got? And how do you think you can help others navigate when they get to the level of success that you're now being able to enjoy?
Yeah, I think this is an ongoing learning experience for me. I think it will be for everyone. It's also an intuitive thing. A self-awareness aspect comes into play, of course, in knowing yourself, what you value. First thing is, what are your gifts and how can you marry those with a business or a way to help other people? And that was a tough thing for me in the first couple of years because, you know, when you get into a new business or like comedians, I listen to Joe Rogan on occasion, as everyone does, like new comedians mirror prior comedians. And so I was mirroring a lot in the fitness space, like joining masterminds, joining coaching programs, like, okay, high ticket sales, price this way, show up this way. Here's like, you know, your sales script. Here's the type of stuff to write about. Okay, I'm going to walk these steps, not because I'm like inauthentic. Like I wasn't posting stuff I didn't believe or lying to people, but it's like, this is the proven way. I know this person. But then like a couple years into business, I realized I wake up one day, I'm like, I'm more anxious than I was at my accounting job and I'm miserable and I'm working way more. And I often toy in my mind, like, is this something that can be avoided even if we talk about it? For people watching, I don't even know. I almost think you got to experience it for yourself. I hope that's not the case. I'm conflicted there, but regardless, it was me just doing a self-inventory of like, okay, what lights me up? What makes me happy? I've always been a creative person. I've always been into music. I've always liked art and videography and filming. And photography is a super fun thing for me. And the gym is my outlet. It's my way to like stay in alignment with myself, you know, meditate. I view training as meditation. So, okay, filming in the gym gives me life. It's fun. Like I like getting cool angles. I like getting the right lighting. I like creating a product, a social media post, silly as that sounds, for someone to consume and they really like. Yeah. Oh, I hear all these other fitness guys complain about filming and how it takes away from their workout. I freaking love doing this. So it's like, okay, I'm going to double down on my content. I'm going to create dope content for people because it doesn't take away from me. It fills me up. It makes me super happy. I love getting messages, people saying like, dude, your content's like way different than everyone else's. And like, I'm not some like miracle worker. It's not like that different, but I put love and passion into it. And I think that intangible thing is something people can pick up on. And that's where I've aligned my business now to where I can spend most of my time versus like calls all day, check-ins with clients. Like that's fun too. And I like doing that, but like I gotta honor what I love doing.
I really respect and admire you saying that, because it's...
And I talk a lot, bro. I'm sorry.
That's what you're here for. This is why I wanted you here. You knowing what your zone of genius is, like what I would call like your zone of genius, and then being able to like double down into that, because especially when it comes to the business world, like it's easy to try and wear all the different hats of like, okay, like what are you doing for marketing and ads and lead generation and lead nurture, and how are you actually handling your ads, and then who's doing the actual coaching, who's doing the sales calls, who's doing the reporting. Like there are so many facets to make this work.
Yeah.
And for you to successfully be like, no, this is what I'm going to do, which is remarkable, because it really is producing great quality stuff.
Thank you.
How can you help someone navigate where it comes to like, I kind of call it like, first you have to emulate people, then you can innovate from there. How do you help someone like have the awareness to kind of like walk that road between it? Because I agree with you, when someone first starts, they shouldn't just try and innovate from the start and trying something completely new. Like follow a proven method, but then at some point you have to have your own flavor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. I think, well, first there's the vision, and then there's the current reality. And I think honoring who you are and what you would eventually like to do in your business will allow you to paint that vision, but then living in the current reality as, you know, someone who's just starting out, you know, it would be all well and good to be able to do what you love, but if you can't pay your rent, then so there's going to be a point where, and I think there's value too of doing everything in your business at some point. And so when I started out, like I did all my sales calls for the first 3 years. Even though I didn't like it, I made it work, because just for some reason with my business, perhaps it's like the depth that I go on social media, people seem to be like personally like offended if I didn't talk to them on the phone. I think that's like a pitfall of someone who has like a deep touch with their audience. But fortunately I have a couple coaches that help me on the back end now, help me with calls, help me with client setup, stuff like that. So I can stay more in the content creation side. I can do lives in my Facebook group. I can message people, you know, when I have free time, so I can still keep that touch with clients, host a Zoom call each week, but like my whole day is not eaten up, so I can stay in my zone of genius. And that ultimately like helps the business thrive even more, because someone who's forcing doing something they don't like they're not going to do it well.
Yeah. So for me, as an entrepreneur, I struggled with that for so long. I think that was one of the biggest mistakes I made for so long, was like me holding on to roles and responsibilities just for way longer than I should have. Where now, like now I'm down to a 6-hour-a-week CEO role. So I can like, I've been able to like break, and again, it comes down to the personal development work. Me being able to be like, hey, this is not about me. And now being able to have the team members and the coaches do what they need to do and be like, oh, but they're doing it so much better than I was doing it anyway.
Right.
Because one, that's where their skill set is, and that's what I'm just focusing on.
That was a huge realization for me. And I'll respond to client applications on occasion now. And what I always say is like, you know, I have only a certain amount of clients I can work with.
Yeah.
And so, you know, if you come on in a certain time frame, like I'll be able to work with you. I can't guarantee beyond that, but I have a couple of coaches that quite frankly are much better at coaching than me. Yeah. So you may want to work with them because it's the truth, man. Like
I love that.
If the passion is there, it's going to be done better, period, the end.
I think it is an interesting kind of like landscape to traverse, is building a business that is like personally brand centric, but then for people to realize of like you've built it with such great uniqueness and value. You're overseeing what's going on and ensuring it's still got the brine, do you know what I mean, tick of quality, But it is a case of like, if I have someone else, like team members that we bring into our business, they're there because they're really good at what they do.
Yeah.
And I find that interesting where I think people have to communicate that better as to why they have other people doing roles where they're not supposed to, because I don't believe someone can truly grow a great business. Someone truly can't grow, I think, a business beyond, let's say, 1 or 2 million a year without having at least some real key team members come on board, being able to do the things. Otherwise, you can't juggle all the balls that are actually there.
Yeah, I remember a mentor told me within my first year, he said, based on my experience, he's been an entrepreneur for 10, 15 years. He's like, 200K is your cap, basically, of going alone. And it's kind of funny because like 2-3 years into business, like I was like consistently 2 years into business, I was consistently there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, damn, like that is so freaking spot on. And I was just working by myself, like day and night, like stressed out the wazoo. So it's 100% true, man.
But I know one other person, a good friend, Rob's his name. He has one employee and does, it's like 4 mil a year plus and works not that much. But like he's the unicorn. Do you mean that's when I think it's important for someone to be like, how do I set my business up?
Yeah, can I have his number?
And it's incredible. What was really interesting was he had a previous business, shit hit the fan, and essentially he ended up not being able to use any of his previous IP contacts, anything like that. And he sat there with a blank piece of paper and just wrote, this is the business that I want from now on, and these are the rules that I'm going to stick by. And that's a really cool thing to be able to be in that place and just be like, there were so many things where he's like, I'm not going to do this other stuff that I know so many other people are doing because I just don't want to do it. And I find it really like constricting if I tried to stay within those boundaries.
Wow.
So it's interesting to see people like that to be like, oh shit, like they are doing it on their terms. And so when I hear you saying like, yeah, I love content and you are amazing at it, like, and you giving yourself the permission to do that, like, dude, tip of the cap to that. Like, it took me ages to try and get there and I still think I struggle with it.
And it's not a pretty road, and for the people watching here, like you got to be willing to fail. You got to be willing to stand up for your dream at all costs. Like no one's gonna. It sound like a cliche poster here, but it's true. No one's gonna do the work for you. You're an adult. You've got to be your own. You got to be the champion for yourself. And like I'm someone who gone to therapy for trust issues because of like giving away roles. Like that's what really like brought it to light for me, brought it to surface just how much I need to work on this and like get into like, why do I not trust people? Why do I like hold on to all these duties? Like I was creating content, doing everything on my own, and my business support inbox was filling up daily with like, fuck this, like this program is shit. Like I paid for this. You said you were going to get back to me. You didn't get back. Like it was bad, bro, for like 6 months. Yeah. And I was still stubborn, like super stubborn on like, I'm not going to give this to anyone. This is me. I can do it. I can work harder. I can sacrifice sleep. Literally to the point that like, dude, I would have just packed up and moved home. Like I was this freaking close before I literally had actually someone who I met at an expo when I was working with bodybuilding.com in the line. We started talking. He said he was a coach. And he basically asked like if I had any coaching positions, and I was like, yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this was back in 2018, and then like we were off to the races there, and like he like totally shifted all my paradigms and just like blew my mind. It's like, whoa, like when I'm not even monitoring you, like you have my best interests, and these clients are super happy, and we're getting great reviews, and people are saying thank you. Like, why did I do this to myself?
It was last year, I had one of my head coaches say to me, we're on a meeting, and I was always just like, I trust you, you go for it, Jimmy, like do what you want to do, kind of having a belief of like, it's better to ask for forgiveness than ask for permission. Like you just go for it, like I trust you. And he turned around on one meeting and he just goes, Chris, do you actually trust me? And I was like, oh shit. And I was just like, yeah, I do. And he's like, well, if you did, you'd let me just like do this. And I was just like,
gotcha.
Oh, dude, it was like, It hit me straight to the heart. And I was like, oh, because I genuinely thought that I did. And then obviously, like, I was doing psychotherapy at the time, so I brought that to my therapist, and I was like, yo, like, holy shit, like, I'm not showing up the way that I actually think that I'm showing up. And I've had someone mirror back to me really strongly this. Yeah. And it's just so interesting.
That's a big gift that he gave you,
dude,
by saying
it was
that.
A huge gift. And what's crazy is, like, the company from then to now is radically different, and I could probably point back to that conversation to be like, that's when I was like, oh, I've just got to do things radically different right now. Like, I can't keep doing it because I'm fucking up. Do you know what I mean?
And that's a powerful thing, and you know, to stand up to an authority figure or even like say something like that, like that's ballsy, and way too often that it doesn't happen, and the business continues to suffer for that. So that's awesome, man.
That's really cool. What's most exciting for you in life right now? Not business, life. What's most exciting for you?
So next month in July, I'm moving to Denver, and I'm closing the LA chapter. It'll never be fully closed. I know I'm going to be back, but we were speaking a bit briefly earlier just about how I've had this itch to get out of LA for a couple of years, really since all the COVID craziness and like dark times in LA. We could perhaps talk about that, but also met a special someone 6 months ago, or 4 to 6 months ago or so, and here in LA, and she lives in Salt Lake currently. And like early, and as we met each other, we were expressing that we're not big fans of where we live, shared a top 5 list of where we would move, and in our top 2s were Denver. So we've been making plans to move to Denver. It's a new connection. I like the girl so much. We're getting our own spots, but we both do similar things, and we can do it from wherever. Yeah. And it's also been a huge epiphany since I've been making this change. I'm going to move everything to Denver, everything as in like my body and my stuff. Like, why didn't I do this sooner? Like, I've had this freedom, but I've just stuck around here. Why? And it's, you know,
why do you think that is?
I think it's human nature, at least to speak for myself personally. I'm someone who values, it's funny, I'm an entrepreneur because I value predictability. I went to school for accounting and finance. I was an accountant, like doing the bean counting, like, you know, I just like things like being in line and like unpredictability. If I'm not doing a lot of personal work on myself, I'm not really stretching myself. I think that's why the gym helps me a lot too, just because like push beyond boundaries, or reminds me I'm capable of more. But I think people, or let me speak for myself. I've been caught too much, I think, in the day to day, and not stopping, sitting down and stepping back and really asking myself openly and honestly what I want, and speaking to my loved ones about what I want, because I think these downloads would have come to me a lot earlier if I just got real with myself and was like, hey, you haven't been happy in LA, you haven't been liking the way that things are going, you're tired of the same homeless dude yelling on your corner every single, like, yo, you don't have to be here, you can go. People have jobs that they have to stay here, they would love to be in your position, why are you here? And it's so funny, is like, it could have came to me sooner, but it didn't. But it's like something I've been journaling on a lot, and I like just recording videos of myself journaling so I can just explain things. But I've been documenting that a lot just so I can like remember it and come back and be like, hey, like, did it really take you meeting someone to like want to move somewhere else? No, it could have happened at any time. So
I love that. I think I really vibe with that as well, because there's so much of a case of, why am I wanting what I'm wanting? I actually just read a book recently called Wanting, which talks about mimetic theory, which is like so much of what we want in our life, we're like unconsciously picking up from what's happening in our environment. And I find it really interesting because for me, like journaling, honestly, it was this like epiphany that's only a few days ago. And like not that long ago, I meditate every day. I want to make sure I give myself space for thinking and clarity. And I did a darkness retreat for 2 days.
No way.
Ago. Yeah. And like, that was amazing because it gave me that space to like, I'm just going to sit here and be with myself and just have curiosity with it. But then again, like it's now being away on this trip. Do you know what I mean? Like family's still back at home. So I'm sitting here by myself outside of interviews, training myself. Like I'm kind of like, like thinking things through. And that space is just like, like I just had such immense clarity on what I want out of my life and different facets of my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, why haven't I done this earlier? Like I just need to go away. I need to get out. Like I'm very routine based.
Yeah.
And so I just need to get out of my routine.
Same.
And be in something different for my head to work differently. And suddenly it's like I just had all the answers.
It's amazing, man. And it's so funny. I started the year, what gave me a similar realization, I started the year doing this 40 minutes a day meditation on this platform called Insight Timer.
Okay,
They have a lot of spiritual leaders on there. There was this course, 40 minutes a day for 40 days. And I was like super not looking forward to it. Like, how am I going to find time for all this? And then like after the first day, I realized during that meditation, like, dude, you're watching Netflix every night for like an hour and a half, 2 hours. You're also scrolling for like an hour a day. You waste an extra hour or two here just doing stupid shit, looking on YouTube or whatever. Like, you have time. Like, and I think many people watching, if people are watching this on YouTube, it's like, hey, should you be watching this now?
Yeah, maybe you should switch off and spend some time.
Well, we like to think this can help someone. It's like productive. Yeah, exactly. Stay here. But yeah, I think less is more, especially in this day and age. Those who really respect that idea are the ones who are going to get ahead, because overdoing has never been easier. And I think it's hard to find someone who doesn't go in severe excess on something, whether it's pornography or food, or because just everything is now like, I didn't even know Instacart existed. You can get all your groceries just delivered to you. I'm super late to this, but like, I just don't have to leave home ever. I can get anything, whatever I want. And that's not a good, it's a powerful weapon that is a good thing. Granted, you keep a hold of the human creature that we are. And you can engage with that in a proper way. I think that like those who can stay on top of themselves and maintain perspective in the next, well, I don't know when this technological train is going to end, next forever, like they're going to win. Stillness, aligning your actions in a way like, is this what you should be doing right now? Is this what you want? Are you distracted? Why are you doing this? It's important, man. That darkness retreat sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was pretty mind blowing actually.
When I say amazing, I mean like scary-ish to be with your own mind.
Scary and very insightful.
Yeah.
And very joyful, and then very scary, and very joyful, and then very scary. I want to train to do a 7-day one. I want to do a 7-day one soon. So yeah, we'll see how
I think I watched a podcast with Aubrey Marcus who spoke on doing a 7-day one.
Yeah.
And I watched a couple podcasts of him after he had just finished it, and his way of being and his demeanor in those interviews, he was just like still, eye contact, like he was so like just calm, and I'm just like, and like he just had this draw to him that it was just different from a person who's like, maybe they host a podcast, they want everyone to enjoy it, so they're kind of all over the place, but he was just like, I'm just like, dude, that's a powerful freaking man.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool. You said something before that I actually want to come back to, because I've had this same thing. Someone that creates a lot of freedom in their life, yet you can get to the end of the day and be like, I didn't talk to anyone today.
Yeah.
Like, and for me, I found it so many times where I'd wake up, I'd do my morning routine, and then I'd work, and then I'd train. And for me, I usually my kind of like usual daily routine is I'll train at about 1:30, I'll finish at 2:30, and then I do school pickup, get the girls, and then it's like me playing dad for the rest of the afternoon.
Yeah.
And I can get to that kind of like picking the girls up. In my worst days, I pick my girls up and my head's still in entrepreneur land, and I'm still trying to solve problems, which is definitely something I want to like conquer and master. But it's kind of like, oh my God, I've gone for so much of today, and I've said hi to the barista. Do you know what I mean? As I check into the gym, but like other than that, it's like I've got headphones in, like I'm just like in my zone.
Right.
I don't think that's a healthy thing.
I don't, man. I really do not. And I think there's this huge lag, and it's not the fault of psychologists or psychiatrists, but there's just this huge lag of human suffering currently with like the support and even understanding of what issues, like what can be provided to remedy that. And I think there's a lot of like do it yourself. I mean, I think that's why like content similar to this and like other podcasts on personal development are super important now, because at least they're current and the issues are being talked about. But that's something I've realized, especially since quarantine. And side tangent, kind of like I heard of a study, someone posted on this. I want to say Dr. Andrew Huberman, if you're familiar with him, about how a certain pleasure chemical, I think it's oxytocin, is only released in adequate quantity if you're in physical presence with another human being, versus other pleasure chemicals like serotonin, dopamine. I need to be fact checked on this to be sure that it's oxytocin,
sure oxytocin too, yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that that's what it is, where it's like there is a lag in the amount of oxytocin that is being released in humans. Are young people that are like perpetually online these days. Like kids these days, they will FaceTime with each other, but they'll just stay on FaceTime. They won't even like, they won't necessarily talk, but they'll just stay home even if their friend is down the street. One will be doing homework, one will be playing video games. And they'll just like be doing their own thing, but like have their screen on. And like something about that is wrong. And I think like at least that study like alludes to what it could be. But to your point, I've had to create that in my life, like find human connection. And for me, it's simple as like I walk through my neighborhood. I do go to Starbucks, even though I can order it, but I will go there. The people know me there. I'll say hi, even though it's a small thing. It's like I'm getting my photons of light in the morning. I'm like starting my day. I've like walked out my door announcing that, like, even though no one sees me, it's like, I'm a human, I'm here, hello. I get my coffee. That makes me feel better, like doing my work during the day. And then, you know, I see my coaches on video, see clients on video, and then my gym time is like, I won't have headphones in. And fortunately, like I've got a good crew at the gym where like, that's definitely my most social couple hours of the day is where we can just like talk. We can, you know, be people, be humans with each other. And I think, you know, another reason I'm looking forward to moving to Denver, it's a side tangent too, is like, I think it's hard unless you're very intentional in LA to cultivate community as someone who has moved here. It's not impossible, but that has been a recurring challenge for me. I think as someone who is busy, owns my own business, there's a lot of people in similar seats. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but a lot of people are, you know, out for their own best interests. And especially just because like it takes me an hour to get here, even like not even that far from here, like even just the traffic can like prevent people from getting together. So it's a battle, but ultimately I think a North Star is like, hey, in-person connection when you can create it, community where you live, especially if you're an online entrepreneur. I think like that'll be your Achilles heel that just wears down slowly. If you like are slowly, like you can be making money online and stuff, but if you don't have in-person connection, you don't have some sense of community, I think you're just going to wake up one day and be like, all this money means nothing.
No, when I moved from Dubai to Bali and started the online business, it was at least the first 3 years, I was pretty much just in my home office in a dark room,
hustling, getting after it.
How the hell to make this work?
Yeah.
Going to the gym, and then trying to be present for my family. Like I saw no one. I had no friends. I had no connections and community. And for me, I really appreciate you bringing this up because I don't think this is talked about enough, is actually being able to cultivate a strong community and connections with a couple of really close people.
Yeah.
For me, it's been something like literally I got to the point where I was like, I'm really happy to be able to do this, but like, I'm going to invest to be able to actually have these conversations in person because I want to actually sit down with Brian and have this conversation and give you a hug, do you know what I mean? Have some real connection. Because if I had to do another Zoom call.
Yeah. And like even with 4K quality and like even someone has a mic, like it's still not the same. And I think, it's a bizarre scenario, and it's also a blessing to be speaking from this position. I do want to make that very clear. Like sometimes you just got to put your head down. You got to make it work. Like whatever, you still living at your parents. Like you don't have the luxury of like, oh, let me find some like in-person community. Like no, like sometimes you got to get stuff done. But I think eventually, like it'll start to get the best of you if you're not just taking care of your soul. And I don't think it takes anything miraculous. Like getting out of the house once or twice a day and having 1 or 2, maybe 3 friends that are just friends. Period. You're not tied together in business. I have a buddy that will just go to the driving range. I suck at golf, but like we'll just go, or we'll go bowl. Also suck at bowling, but it's like we're homies. I met him here in LA. He's from LA. Super good dude. Goes to the gym with me, but like it makes me feel like a human being. Just makes me feel like a freaking human. Like where I was raised on the East Coast, like I'm from West Virginia. Pretty small state, small hometown, like everyone kind of knows each other type vibe, type of neighborhood where like you go to the neighbor to get butter or whatever, like that type of shit. Like kids riding their bikes through the neighborhood. So like to go from that and just like that's my world to like eventually getting older, becoming an adult 30-year-old dude, like running my own business in a big city like LA. It's a stark contrast, but it brings me back to like, ooh, I feel like some people have never been shown like what is important in terms of like, and everyone decides what's important to them. But for me, I think there is some alignment with everyone, like family, connection, community. Like it's not more money. Like if I could shake people in LA, be like, it's not more money or notoriety. Like it's like, be a human, have friends, like just be a person.
I recently read Arthur C. Brooks's new book, From Strength to Strength, and he talks about real friends and deal friends. And I think it's so easy to get caught up in having deal friends, where it's like
that's a great way.
There's a camaraderie there, but it's based on kind of like a tit for tat, and I don't like that at all.
Totally get that's LA in a nutshell.
Right. Okay.
I've been hating on LA. I feel like I really do love LA. Yeah. I like LA. There's amazing people here. I think there's great people and shitty people everywhere.
Yeah.
I do think a nature of, I would imagine any city is just like hustlers, people. It's a transient city. Like it's not right or wrong. It just is, but just being able to recognize that.
Yeah. Dude, I really appreciate this. God damn it. We're running out of time. There's so many things I've wanted to pull with you. Let's talk about what's most interesting, exciting, energizing, expanding for you business-wise moving forward. Like, where is it that you want to take the Brian Costa empire?
So currently what we offer is we have a mobile platform. We offer training programs, nutrition programs. I'm biased, but I think what we do is the best. I think it's better than everyone else that does it. I think for, where we're priced for what the client gets is freaking awesome. Custom training, $28 a month, custom training program, custom nutrition plan, unlimited updates to their training program, nutrition program, community, ability to access me, other coaches to get questions answered. So really just my aim is always just growing active subscribers on the platform because I really believe in what we do. I think it's super important. We're about to launch a new fat loss program called Shred 3.0, and it's in alignment with a competition prep I just started this week, actually. Amazing. I'm going to be looking to compete at the Natural Bodybuilding World Championships called the Yorton Cup in September 10th. So just generating buzz around that, especially with social media. I find people like to follow a story, have a reason to come back. And I like that too. I think like instead of just like seeing a post in isolation, people like to see a story documented. So it's like a convenient thing. And this is like what I find most rewarding too in the business is just seeing the engagement grow. Even if someone never joins our ecosystem, the fact that they can just follow along with my page or one of my other coaches and receive immense value is super important. So it just continuing to grow, man, in general.
That's really cool. Let's quickly touch on, you're in amazing shape. You've got a great physique. But
Thank you,
the
man.
thing, and I said before we hit record, is that I really admire, and this is the thing I admire most in the health and fitness world, the consistency of it. If it comes down to a philosophy of, do you know what I mean, 2, 3, 5 kind of like principles that you could etch in stone, what would that be, Brian?
When I was, I really, like, thank you for saying that with consistency, because growing up, I was not someone who was consistent at all. I would get frequently on my report cards in middle school, lacks consistency. Like next to a teacher's name, like it would show your grade and then there would be a number next to the grade and would reference like a comment at the bottom of your report card.
Yeah.
At least that's how they did it where I was raised. And it was like, I forget what the number was, but it would always say lacks consistent effort.
Interesting.
So it doesn't come naturally to me. So my big thing is just forgive, grab a learning experience and move on. That's really the one thing. I always come back to this, but just like accept that we're a human. We're going to make mistakes. Just acknowledge it. It's going to happen. And another thing, when I was playing soccer in high school, my coach would notice if a play didn't go my way, if he didn't call it out afterwards and just like give me a like, yo, let's go, forget about it, I would let it affect me the whole game. Like if something bad happened at the beginning of the game, I would be tapped for the whole game because I would just ruminate on it and let it affect my energy. So if you miss a workout, doesn't matter. Bonus points if you can ponder on the idea, how did I act that day to like create me missing that workout? Is there anything I could have done? But like don't make it mean something about yourself. Because the worst thing, and this goes with nutrition too, is like one day off track doesn't hurt you, but the storyline you create about that one day can either have you bounce back and just get right back on the plan, not compensate, not go low carb or low fat to try to make up for it. No, it happened, whatever. You can either be back on track right away, or that can continue perpetually and a week goes by and you've still been in this fuck it mentality, and then a month goes by and then 2 years goes by and it's like, yeah, I dieted back in 2020, but now, so it's like, just forgive yourself and come back to why what you're doing is important. You wouldn't be doing it if you didn't have some alignment with it and why it's important to you. So no, acknowledge that you can get there, and you're just going to be better equipped with that mess up to get back on track. At least that's the way I treat it.
I love that, dude. I think that is, you nailed that. You nailed that. That was really good.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate that so much, because I think that is one of the fundamental things that we need to be doing, because in any area of life, the story that we're telling ourselves, I think, is one of the most critical things of what's going on. And
huge.
We can author that story, and you bringing awareness to that is, that's really smart.
Meditation helps me with that too. Being realizing that I can be the fly on the wall, observing myself, and that, you know, we have this blessing that dogs and cats and all other animals don't have, is like I can assess how I am acting and see myself from a third party perspective. Yeah. Last thing I'll say too is like with the gym, oftentimes I'll still do this to this day. If I don't want to go, my narrative in my mind is I'm going to drive there and walk in. If I don't want to train still, I'll leave and not beat myself up for it. No problem. And I've never left the gym having walked in. A lot of times it's just like getting there. Do you know what's really funny? My rule is if I don't want to train, I'm going to go there and just start with carbs and then see how I go. Because I find like that's the easiest. I love that. So if I just start, I'm like sitting on like doing the seated calf raise, I'll get 4 sets in seated calf raise, and I'm like, all right, I'm just going to do this. And get a little blood flow. You're like, all right, I'm here.
Get a calf pump and then move on.
Yeah, man.
That's really funny. Okay, amazing. Brian, this has been incredible. I really appreciate having this conversation, being able to catch up, dude.
Likewise, man.
Next time, it'll either be in LA or in Denver. Maybe it's a good excuse for me to come to Denver the next time.
Denver's fun, man. I've been going 2 or 3 occasions, and like the city, it's navigable. It's fun to get around. They've got scooters and stuff, and they're not all beat up, and it's like you can do so much in a short amount of time. So it's a fun city, man. It's similar to LA in many ways, just smaller.
Cool. Well, I really enjoy watching your journey, watching you do what you do, and how you show up in the world. So thank you, dude. I really appreciate it.
Likewise, man. It's been fun.
Thanks, dude.